Hey guys, how you doing? I am Jay Fitzloff, producer at Darksiders 2, and this is your community Q&A session. So I think environment-wise for Darksiders 2, you're going to notice some big differences. We've created a lot bigger game, so the environments are on a much grander scale. Also, since Death is much more agile and can climb higher, we've designed levels and environments that are a lot more vertical than the first game. But the biggest change that you're going to notice is since the first game took place on Earth and Darksiders 2 takes place not on Earth, the complete underworld, what this did for our team is let the chains go. They weren't bound by reality because, you know, when you're creating Earth, everybody knows what a building looks like, and you have to build that expectation. No one knows what these fantastic environments we're creating for the underworld look like, so it really let our art team go wild and just whatever they could dream was fair game. And ultimately it's like whatever looked cool, that's what we went with. So you're gonna see a lot grander scale, a lot more variety, and just a lot of cooler places to explore. You're going to learn more about the Horseman's race and the status of Heaven and Hell in Darksiders 2, actually. The race that War and Death are a part of, the Nephilim, that's a big story point in Darksiders 2. I'm trying to keep it kind of vague. I can't tell you too much, but trust me, like, you'll get very deep into the Horseman's history, their race, what happened, and the state of the union within Heaven and Hell with Darksiders 2. Well, I can't spoil that because I don't want to ruin the story for anybody or ruin any surprises. The only thing I'll say on that is that, you know, Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2 take place along the same timelines, so you don't have to play the first game to have fun with Darksiders 2, but if you have played the first game, there's certain crossover points where you'll kind of have these aha moments with people or places that are a callback to the first game. We just felt there was a lot of unanswered questions or a lot more to explore with the apocalypse. You kind of got a taste of the politics and what was going on behind the scenes with the first game, but with the second game, we really wanted to blow that out and go deeper with that. So, you know, Death's a lot more talkative character than War, and through conversation trees and the storyline of Darksiders 2, you're going to get a much fuller picture of this universe that the Horsemen work within. So the customization in Darksiders 2 is, I mean, it can't even be compared to Darksiders 1. I think Darksiders 1, the character progression was linear. You know, you and I would play the game and we'd end up with the same character at the end of the game. With Darksiders 2, within an hour, we're gonna have completely different characters, and even more so as the game progresses forward, because the equipment is all randomly generated based on your level. And so we have scythes, secondary weapons, of which there's a multitude of secondary weapons you can get, armor, boots, gauntlets, amulets. So all these are randomly generated, random statistics generated throughout. If I had to, who knows, I'd have to create a mathematical algorithm to know how many items are really in the game, but we're talking about, I'm sure, technically millions of items within the game. So then there's that. On top of that, when you go up a level, we have our skill trees. Every level you get a skill point to spend. You can put up to 3 points into a skill, but by design, you can't have all the skills in the game by the time you finish. You know, there's that many skills in the game, so you have to make a choice there. Also, in towns, that's where you buy new moves for your scythes and your secondary weapons, and that's another choice too that people are gonna make. So I think it'll be really interesting to see directions that people go, and I think it'll really become a conversation point. You know, just kind of like any game where you can create your own character and go in different directions, asking like, hey, you know, what direction you got? I kind of went heavy weapon, but I kept my spells in the necromancer area and chose armor that would pump up my spell abilities. Oh, that's interesting. I did more light weapons and fast attacks and really focused on teleport slash and his ability. So there's a huge variety in character design for Darksiders 2. It's kind of a variation on that. I mean, technically, War was given Death's Scythe, and we don't want to retrofit that universe. So what actually happens is we figure, you know, Death has an arsenal of scythes. I mean, he's Death, why wouldn't he? So you'll see he uses dual sights throughout the game, and that's kind of his main go-to weapon, but there's a loot system now, so there's always new weapons, not just sights, but weapons and armor being dropped. So as a character, you'll always be trading out your sights for different upgraded versions as you play throughout the game. And then, but yes, in his Reaper form, Death does have his single go-to scythe, and Death's Reaper form is akin to War's Wrath form from the first game. I'll answer that in two parts. So what are we offering in terms of replayability? Kind of that question about the customization of Death. Obviously there's reason to go and play again because you're going to be able to find new loot, create a different character, go in a different direction. We do have some challenges and different things to explore for people that finish the game. That's all I can say on that now, unfortunately. To the difficulty of puzzling, I would picture it like this. So if Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2, we can figure they're kind of built on the same three platforms. We've got combat, traversal platforming, and puzzle solving. If you were to break down between those three what percentage the breakdown is on Darksiders 1, it'd be about the same percentage for Darksiders 2. But here's the key. We've made each of those elements deeper and richer. With combat, it's the loot and the skills, so there's a lot more combat options within the game. Within traversal and platforming, we have a much more agile character. Levels are built more vertically, so there's a lot bigger traversal areas to explore and bigger overworld areas to explore as well. And then with the puzzle solving, it's a default of the game being bigger, the worlds being bigger, and there being more items to collect and get, which allows us to add more layers to the puzzle solving. So I don't know if I'd say if the puzzle difficulty is going up. I mean, there may be some that are more difficult, some that are less difficult than some of the stuff in Darksiders 1, but overall, the puzzles will be more intricate and interesting for the player. For the Wii U, it's, I mean, right now we're working on it, but basically what we're really focusing on right for the Wii U is using its unique control system. And, you know, it's easy enough to just port it over and you have the game and use the controls just like you would a console, but that's kind of a waste with the Wii U. So we're trying out a lot of unique controls within the game, but what's important is, and everything's on the table. Any ideas is not a dumb idea because there are no Wii U games, so we're kind of, you know, blazing the trail here with what we're going to do, and it's really exciting. But what's important to us is whatever we integrate into the control scheme or however we use the tablet, we want to make sure it feels cool and it feels integral to the game, and it's not just, you know, you just do something because you can. When you do something, you want to make it feel better, as good or better than you would get from a standard controller, and that's where we're at with the Wii U version. Let's see, my favorite character from the Darksiders series? It's probably Volgrim. I just like that shady little dude always popping up and trying to sell you stuff, and his voice too. Every time when he pops out, it just kills me every time. So I'm a Volgrim fan. I'm glad you asked me this question about pie because I am a super pie fan. I'm gonna rattle off some of my favorite flavors. A lot of people will tell you pumpkin, and that's fine, but my favorite flavor of all time is sour cream raisin meringue. That sounds horrible, and I had it at a restaurant one time. It's delicious. You come over to my house, I'll make it for you sometime. It's incredible. My backup favorite would be pecan pie, and once in a while, I try to make I don't know, I'd call it like a pie melange, where you just mix different flavors. It always turns out horrible, but, you know, come Thanksgiving, I'm always willing to take an adventure on a different flavor.